So, girls, what do you think? Are you happy with your bids?
Absolutely, I couldn't be happier. Although, I do think the whole sorority recruitment process went a little too fast for me.
I totally agree. I'm really unsure whether I'm happy with my results or not. What if I made the wrong decision?
I feel the exact same way. I mean, how can we really know if we picked the perfect sorority?
Oh, girls, you need to relax.
No, but seriously, what if I don't fit in? Now that I'm thinking about it, I really don't know if I made the right decision.
I know how you feel. I mean, I think the best part of this entire process was the beginning, open houses. I didn't feel stressed about making decisions because there wasn't a whole lot of risk involved.
I agree with Tori. You girls need to relax. Do you realize how much of your own time, money, and effort you put into this? Way too much for you to be unhappy. It's not like the benefits of being in a sorority are offered to everyone. Membership is not a freely available resource.
Yeah, exactly. Membership is robust and excludable. Sororities are a perfect example of a pure private good because not just anyone can be in a sorority.
I know. I mean, I just had different feelings in the beginning. That's all I'm trying to say. I didn't feel as though the opportunity cost of narrowing down the 20 sororities to 14 was particularly high at that point, or not nearly as high as it was on preference night.
The trade-offs weren't at all difficult to decide against because I immediately knew which sororities met my expectations and which ones didn't. That's why the opportunity cost was so low, because we didn't have a lot at stake and we didn't have a lot to lose.
That's true. I guess I can see what you mean. It wasn't like the end of rushing when we really had to weigh the incentives of picking one sorority over another and then choosing between them.
But still, it's not like the entire time you weren't allowed to be rational. You were always able to think about your needs and wants. Things like picking a sorority with a good reputation and with a good group of girls.
I know, but I think we were just saying that as time went on, we noticed that our choices were rather constrained. I mean, we couldn't just fast forward and see that if by eliminating one sorority for the other, we were making the right decision for ourselves. How frustrating.
Yeah, right. The process was entirely in the immediate run. We didn't have flexibility with our choices and no time to gather more information. It wasn't like we could keep visiting the girls if we wanted to. That was totally against Russian.
That's true.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And when you think about it, it's the perfect example of asymmetric information. We saw how the sororities presented themselves, but what if it was all just an act? They clearly knew more than we did. They knew about their sorority and about their pledge period and about the rush process in general.
I know, right? What an unfair benefit. We knew nothing else other than the first few impressions we gathered. But they didn't hold a lot of value because most of the girls were superficial because they only want us to like them in their sorority.
Exactly, and that was what made it so difficult when we had to attempt to maximize our utility. It was a matching process, and we wanted the highest end value, our top preference. But before we got to that preference, we had to work out the logistics and figure out how many utils each sorority yielded us based on those incentives, wants, and needs we had mentioned earlier.
Right, which is why it was so hard to measure, because there's superficiality. I'm finally starting to understand this.
I thought the worst part of narrowing down the list was when I found that a lot of the girls had a high demand for my top preferences. That freaked me out, especially since the supply of spots is not large.
I noticed that too, especially during preference night when we had to select our top 3 sororities. It seemed like every other girl had the same 1 or 2 sororities that I had put on mine.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, I found I didn't really care about anything else at all. I heard that my dues for my top sorority were really expensive and the pledging period was really extensive, but I found that I no longer factored that into my opinion. My demand of being Chi Del was completely inelastic. I wanted to be in that sorority no matter the expenses.
Well, that's essentially where all the risk was, picking your top preference and investing in it without complete assurance. But you have to admit, bid day, we did get pretty lucky. We got all our top choices.
Yeah, and I would have to say, our sororities got their top preferences too. Us. I mean, how efficient, guys. Both we and our sororities were made better off without the other one being made worse off.
See, and it could have ended terribly. Just think about Becky. She got a bid back from her 3rd preference, and that same sorority hadn't even put her on their 1st or 2nd preference list. So they didn't want her, and she didn't want them. Talk about inefficiency.
Yeah, but I mean, how unrealistic was she, though? Becky knew she wouldn't be accepted into her top 2, so she should have played the game theory. She should have put a sorority from lower on her list and that she didn't mind and knew she would get into in one of her top 2 spots.
That's too much strategy. I mean, who cares anyway? We're the ones that got dealt with a positive externality. It's lucky that the girls from our favorite sorority made a decision that yielded us a benefit.
Totally. We could have been like Becky and been handed back a bid with bad costs because the decision of her top sorority yielded her a negative externality.
Yeah, I mean, come on, girls. We should all be very happy. Perfection is entirely too costly to obtain.
Yeah, there's no way to get enough information or have enough time to make the most perfect decision.
But by thinking of our own incentives, wants, and needs, and rationales, in the end we made the best decision for ourselves.
I guess you're right. Maybe the sorority is the best one for me. It's not perfection, but it's pretty close.
You know what? I think you're right.
Yeah.
Let's order.
Hi, I'm Tori Kramer, and in this project, I was the co-scriptwriter, I helped in editing, and I was also the prop master.
Hi, I'm Lexi Gordon. I was editor, co-researcher, and cinematographer.
Hi, I'm Caroline Handley. I was editor, co-researcher, and director.
Hi, I'm Kim Klinikowski. I was co-scriptwriter, editor, and TA correspondent.